also share what your partner shared, so you don't have to feel like you're sharing your own.
I can go ahead.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I think the main reflection I've had so far with the 3 presentations is that it's so impactful how much time it's taken for all of this to happen.
Yeah.
Decades in the working to get to this point where we have a room full of people interested in learning about Central American studies and just, yeah, that's what's really impacting me right now, so yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's great. That's a great transition. So it's a lot of work, and I think also something that's showing up, right, is how we do this work with community alongside community, right? Like, and that takes us to our special guests, our guests of honor. I'm gonna skip my pieces, but I just wanted to share, right, that the work continues, and especially for the folks who are in the class right now, know that your ideas that you have in your class now and your research now can be things that grow into these types of projects, because that's what happened for me. I'm a Cal State alum, and I was in Dr. Verma's class, and not gonna lie, almost failing that class. But she's like, you gotta do research on something. And so I started doing research on how Central Americans were or were not being represented in the state standards and the state documents that teachers use for instruction. And what came out of that was that we aren't being represented in the ways that we should be given the population of Central Americans in California. And so I did a really small project at that time, which was like, okay, we need curriculum out there, right? But what blossomed out of that is that other folks were also doing that work. So Dr. Floribol Lopez in the back was also doing that work. Ron Espiritu was also doing that work. And so we got together with a whole team of teachers who also were very interested, who were already doing that work but wanted to formalize it. And so we were able to create a Central American Studies curriculum project. We've been presenting it for the last couple of weeks. And these teachers put their heart and soul into this work. But because, just an echo too, we worked with a lot of community folks, a lot of scholars that are in the room currently to do this work. And we showcased it, and we were also very intentional that any of the work that we do it in community as well. So we did it at a local public school, a local charter school that was in Pico Union. And we opened it up to community and had community partners like Cajas, like Salvi's Who Lunch, who also joined in. And so always think of when you're doing your work, how can that transfer to community, and how can we do that work with community, invite community in. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Claudia, who's going to introduce, like we said, our community guests.
I'm with Cajas, the Central American Historical Ancestral Society of California. And what we are is a community-based digital archive where we collect, preserve, share our Central American heritage, shared experiences, and contributions. I'm a Salvadoran American, so this is my family, and this is my great-grandfather, Felix Panameño, my grandmother, and my grandfather. That's her father, and that's me and my abuelita, around the kitchen table. And I'm showing you all this because when I came to Cal State LA grad school, just like you guys, right? Everybody's saying the same thing. We wanted to learn more about our Central American history. I felt supported, right? I felt supported for the first time. And in my research, I found out that my great-grandfather was in this book. He was Miguel Marmos' Zapatero friend, if you know his story. So this is what just continues to encourage me and encourage others. Find out your history, because a lot has been skipped over, and you know about erasure, you know about exclusion. This is why we say this, right? What other narratives are missing from our history? And what we're doing is trying to get at least 100 Central American historical biographies, and that's where Ricardo and Dora come in. Dora was born in Santa Ana, El Salvador, and Dora, please correct me if I have anything wrong. And the proud daughter of Leonor Burgos Cabrera and Raúl Alfredo Magaña, a national soccer player who led the country to the first World Cup games in 1970. And in speaking with her, we also learned that he probably is the first Salvadoreño that came to play soccer right in the Americas, because I think it was Canada. So again, we're finding out more history as we go along with these oral histories. Dora took part in the people's struggle and social movements fighting for civil and human rights that eventually led her to the imprisonment at the age of 19. With her life in danger, she fled the country, and Dora married here. She had children here. She pursued her education, nursing career, and stayed close to the Central American community. As a registered nurse, Dora helped transform the Clínica Romero into a federally qualified health center, and in the 1990s, when cultural resources for the Central American community continued to be scarce, as we all know, she became one of the founders of Centro Cultural Centroamericano, along with Ricardo, and would eventually inspire the beginnings of the Museum Art and History of Central American Collection, which I'm hoping they have time to talk about. She graduated, and then, so like it's not over, right? She graduated from UCLA as a nurse practitioner and currently works at the White Memorial Community Health Center in East Los Angeles. She publishes poetry, and she is with La Piedra. And she actually is the one that introduced me to the members of La Piedra Art Collective. And that's where I met Ricardo O'Meany. And the stories between this group is like 40 years of a lot of history, LA history that we forget about. And Ricardo is a self-taught artist born in San Salvador. He came in 1975, and some of his exhibitions were back from 1986 with the East LA Self-Help Graphics. In 1990, Exposition Park exhibit where he shared space with Chicano artist Frank Romero, Reina Cervantes, and Chilean artist Francisco Letelier. So Ricardo has deep roots in both LA's art world and supporting marginalized communities, and I'm thrilled to have them here. I want you guys to hear from them. So please, Dora.
And it's a great honor to be here with all of you. I'm going to speak, I had asked to reflect on the student-curated exhibit in the CCC Archives, and the CCC Archives, which is the Central American Cultural Center Archives. I want to thank you for this opportunity to visit and have conversation here at my alma mater again. And I also want to thank the students who work curating the exhibition. I want to recognize the work done at Cal State LA to host the archives of the Central American Cultural Center, because in the middle of the pandemic, we were advised that Clínica Monseñor Oscar Arnulfo Romero was going to close their community center, and it was the place where all our archives were. And really, I was worried because we didn't know what we were going to do with all this accumulated documentation. And I want to thank Paula Ayala, a doctoral student who's here today, who recommended that we talk with Dr. Enrique Ochoa, who came with Mario Ramirez to the place and saw the whole, the great amount of documents we had there, and told us to bring them to Cal State LA. So Mario Ramirez helped to move the whole documents to the university, and they are now here in the archives of the library. And we need funding, and they are going to need grants in order to organize them here. Okay, so I want to say thank you to Azalea Camacho for the wonderful welcome you have given us here, and for the support to our art collective La Piedra in how to preserve our art. Thank you. I would like to say that the first person I heard here speaking at Carecen regarding historical memory was Leda Ramos. she just spoke and talked about her history and the creation of the archive. I had contact in El Salvador with my Raúl Durán, un compañero de lucha de mis años de juventud, quien ya falleció y quien también estaba trabajando en El Salvador haciendo el trabajo de memoria histórica, who was also working in El Salvador doing the historical memory work. He was the first person I heard in El Salvador speaking about historical memory. I want to thank Leda and Raúl Durán, who is no longer with us, for inspiring me to start and continue the work. Later, when we were talking about Memoria Histórica at the Central American Community Center, Carolina Rivera, who's also here, who's an artist and a worker in the arts, reminded me about the work Leda was doing. And I remember, I said, yeah, it is. And finally, I want to thank Dr. Esther Hernandez and Claudia Portillo, founder of the Central American Historical and Ancestral Society in California, for their interviews and for the student-curated exhibit. The Central American Community Center archives have a substantial number of documents and posters that were donated to us when people knew that we were planning to create MAHCA, which is the Museum of Art and History of Central America. Many of the documents were donated by Francisco Rivera, who had them in a U-Haul storage, and who called me from the hospital because he was very sick and said, I don't want this to get lost. I want someone to have this. And we immediately took them and helped him to move them from the U-Haul storage to the community center. This shows how many people at the community level were thinking about saving the documents for the future. You know, it's interesting because in the university, I remember in 1992, there was the creation of the Latin American Society here at Cal State LA. And they gave us a little space in a basement, in a building, and we started to work and to get together, you know. And I remember some of the students were from Guatemala, Hugo Sidivines, who already passed, Juan Hernandez, who's a Salvadorian, and Andrea Page, who is an American citizen, who was married to Sandor Sea, who is a Salvadorian compañero. And they were working, and I remember us cleaning the floor and the walls and putting together things, you know, for the Latin American Society, because at that time, there was only Chicano stories, Pan-African stories, and there were no Central American stories, nor Latin American studies. Latin American studies started in those years, you know. So it's a long time ago at the university, and we didn't have a place where to go and get information for our researches regarding Central America. So this tells you that in the university has been the idea, the desire to create these stories, but the community also has worked in creating these archives. So all members that started the third Central American Cultural Center, because before us were two more. Rosana Perez was member of the board of the second one, I think. And then we were art workers. We thought that the project needed to be independent from political affiliations because the political affiliations in our generations were very strong. So we decided that at that time we were not going to have political affiliation. We thought that it needed to be born and growth around art and to the service of the dispossessed. The historical documents surpassed the art collections. This happens to be a great incident because it will contribute to students and teachers to investigate our immigrant history in the United States and to see how our collective work shaped our communities. Reviewing my notebook from the meeting of the CCC, the museum collective was formed by Ciris Barrios, Dr. Oriel Maria Siu, Yadira Arevalo, Mónica Novoa, Dora Magaña, ya te mencioné, Rosana Pérez, and Ricardo Garcia O'Meany. That was the root of the it was the historical memory collective that was going to become the Museum of Art and History of Central America. Regarding this, now I would like to move into the exhibits the students have curated. And regarding this exhibit, I came before to see it and it moved me profoundly. There is a deep understanding of our roots by the students. Those roots that Charles Olson once said, whatever you have to say, leave the roots on. Let them dangle on the dirt just to make clear where they come from. Our students that curated this collection understand it. It is the earth from our homeland that dangles in our roots, the ones that impulse us to the future, knowing who we are, where we stand, and where we are going. I am very hopeful that this will be the first exhibit with a long list following it. May the work of our Central American Memorial Historic Archives and its projects flourish with the strength and beauty of our Central American lands. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I am probably the oldest guy in the group, and I am a man of. I am a 35 years old man in a body of 74. And I don't know. I was preparing myself to give a talk, and now I forgot everything. What I want to say is that thanks, Dora sent me a video of I don't remember a place in Spain where they are claiming that if we forget our history, we lost our identity. And it is exactly what is happening in many people, in many of the Salvadorian community, and in everybody, you know, because the population here in LA and in the United States, in the whole world, are coming from somewhere. And with the policies of the new liberalism is producing people without memory. So we sometimes when we get together with a group of artists, I am an artist myself, and I have many years working with arts here in LA, and it's something that I want to write of. I think I'm going to write a book that will say the book of my lost memories. You know, it's going to be blank. but I have many memories, you know, and a lot of things. I have been able to meet a lot of wonderful people here who are not among us anymore, you know, and I know, for example, I participated in the struggle in El Salvador, which was very intense. A lot of people took part of it here in the U.S. And we, in the Salvadorian community, we had the problem that there were divisions between the people, you know, in a struggle. And so sometimes when once express our ideas of that past are through the lens of whoever was connected with one of those organizations, you know. And that's why, for example, it's more difficult to get the documents and that people say, because the people were divided. It looks, when we went to a demonstration, it looked like impressive, you know. There were a lot of people from everywhere, but really there were many organizations. We were 5 organizations. And so now to recuperate those documents and posters and everything that were done during that time is a little difficult, because when once go to, it is like someone put us I don't know, how do you call that, stamp, you know. When we go to a friend, you know, someone who we know that we're from the other organization, then they suspect that we are trying to do something, you know, or take away the memory of the others. And so it's a little difficult, but also in terms of the documentations, the documents, as Leda said, through Carecen, they were trying to do something, you know, they were trying to build something, but as well as in El Rescate, you know, which was part of another organization. We had a file, large file, you know, that were born in a fire, you know. So it was the most of it, or maybe the total of it, was lost. But so you can imagine that there were different people doing the same things, you know, but with their own perspective. When we started the center, the Central American Center, because several of us were from different organizations, we had the idea of working unity, you know, not trying to. Sometimes we had a little bit of discussions, you know, around the past, but we were able to build something really, really beautiful. And unfortunately, we couldn't hold it anymore. We wanted to have it as a group of people, students from UCLA came to us, and they wanted to get all what we had, you know, for the UCLA, which was doing something like it's been done here. And but we decided not to, because we wanted to have a center, a museum, even a humble museum, but a museum in the community, because we wanted the people to have a chance to go with the kids and see what was the past, you know, which is part of the present. Now with Claudia, which has been a wonderful person that we met, you know, and who has the kind of the same ideas we had, you know, and we are working together, and we hope that we are going to keep working also with the university and do whatever is required to make a revolution in the world. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you, everyone. Timing is a little off, but I believe we still have time to go upstairs to see the exhibit.
Yeah, whoever wants to go to see the exhibit and a couple of items that were curated by Marina, who's here today, in the Special Collections and Archives reading room, you can come follow me.